This episode of the Highlight Zone has been brought to you by Diet Coke. Need a refreshing zero-calorie refreshment? Try a Diet Coke today.
You're traveling through another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of Twilight Zone reviews. A journey into a wondrous land of intoxication where a father, son, and guest drink and retell episodes of the Twilight Zone.
There is a fifth dimension.
Stay tuned because your next stop is the Highlight Zone After Hours.
The Twilight Zone.
Welcome to the Highlight Zone. I am one of your two hosts, Steve.
I'm Kelly.
And we have a real special guest today, one of my really long-time podcasting friends, Marc Abramson. What's up, buddy?
What's up, homie?
Okay, now
It's
wait a
been
minute.
way too long.
It has, and I'm cracking up already. I'm in tears, and this is going to be a funny show because you are saying something that I've always thought. Now, first of all, I would drink Diet Coke with my hair on fire. It's one of my favorite things. I know that something in there is coring me out from the inside. I know that that's going to happen because of what you just said. How does it taste like that and there's nothing in there? Coke makes sense because it's sugar and it's there. How do you do it where it's the same shit as water? I've always thought that.
Here's what I don't understand is like, no, everyone knows sugar is bad for you, right? Like, I am severely overweight. I know, like, and I know it's because I ordered a 4-pack of fucking Crumble last night. Like, it's not but like that's sugar isn't the devil. Like your lack of self-control is the devil, right? So like just have a real fucking Coke and eat a fucking cheeseburger and just hate yourself a little bit like the rest of us and stop being a dick.
Yeah, and lean into it. Yeah.
Lean into it.
Would you try a Crumble if they came out with a new Crumble Zero line of cookies?
Oh God.
Crumble Zero. Holy shit, Crumble
Zero.
Zero. Oh my God, I love this show. Now wait,
fantastic.
So Mark, real quick, I was telling my dad, he apparently didn't know that you're Mr. New Jersey, right? So
I have no clue.
Yeah. So I was like, he told me this story before. I'm going to ask him to quickly retell because I started the day off poorly because we're recording early in the morning and I immediately made a screwdriver and I forget that thing with orange juice after you brush your teeth.
Oh,
dude, it almost like stings your mouth. It's bad. So I am doing that. And because Mark agrees with me on the levity, I don't know, did I just make up that word? I'm also enjoying
it sounded great.
A little bit of sativa pop today. So I am in a fantastic mood. But Dad, you pre-made your Long Islands to bring to where you're recording today. And please quickly retell the story because I think we need to get through this.
All right. So I've always pre-made it when we have an event off-site. Like I brought that mason jar of Long Island. And as you know, Mark, it's gin, tequila, vodka, and clear rum, right? In equal portions, equal shots, and then some syrup.
Simple syrup and Diet Coke and lemon.
Simple syrup, Diet Coke, and lemon.
Yeah. So what happened with you?
So what happened is I blended everything but the Diet Coke because that's in a separate can. Diet Coke, the beverage of champions. Yep. And I packaged it last night. I sent Steve a picture. I had it all in the freezer so it wouldn't change consistency. I get up this morning, I've got my list of bullshit that I have to bring to the office to do this, and I put everything in there, and I'm happy. I look around the apartment 3 times, nothing's been forgotten. I get to my office, which is in
it's
to
out
the hell
there.
gone in the middle of nowhere, and I realize I didn't bring my Coke. So in Long Island without a Coke is not
it's
a
like
Long
a
Island iced tea.
Sugary lemon,
right?
Like weirdness.
So
if you could get even worse than Long Island.
So here's all right. Well, wait a minute. I'm just about to. Mark, wait, because the hook is coming. So I'm wondering what the hell am I going to do? I've got all this beverage and I don't have this Coke. So I'm looking around and this dude comes up, this old guy comes up who has this old pickup. He collects old wire and stuff from it and takes it to the recyclers. I call him the scrounger. Out of the blue, he appears. And I go out and I say hello to him. He says, Kelly, I got something for you. I'm thinking, what the hell? And he reaches in and he gives me this giant cup of brand new blue Slurpee from the Circle K. He
Mark,
goes,
this is important. I want to get back to this in a second.
They've got a 4-for-1 offer, and he's got in his seat a whole row of these giant cups of blue Slurpee. Now, I'm always leery if this dude ever gives me anything. So I take the top off, and it's got that perfect little mountainous tip with the twist on it. Like Dairy Queen
was afoot at the Circle K.
So, something was going on there. But anyway, he gives me this drink out of the blue, out of the generosity of his heart. I'm thinking, okay, this was meant to be. So I come into the office and I go, I wonder if I take all the ingredients and I add blue Slurpee. So I make a little, yes, that look on your face says,
yeah.
So I make this sample and I'll be goddamned if this isn't the best tasting beverage. It's better than Diet Coke, but it's
whoa. No. You can't say that on the show. Okay. You can say it's a good alternative.
No. Kelly, I
almost...
believe back in the day the kids used to call that Slizzer.
Oh. Okay, so I've got a new name for it, and it doesn't rival the Diet Coke. It's a whole different taste. Let's put it that way. Okay, as an alternative, if your fridge is empty and you need a quick replacement. So I taste this and I'm looking at this going, this is going to work. So now I'm sucking down this blue drink.
Show it, because you brought up something I thought was interesting is when you, now it's in like liquid form. Before.
Well, I've been stirring it for 20 minutes.
Because it got all temperature. It got all coagulated and frozen,
because the Slurpee is half ice or 3/4 ice. It doesn't melt. It just looks like a bunch of icebergs floating in the North Atlantic.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this going, Jesus, it's like curdled milk and coffee. It doesn't dissolve. So anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Mark just threw up in his mouth. Okay. So real quick, Mark, in this situation, I like how he MacGyvered his drink. He has a dedication to this show. Would you take a Slurpee from not a stranger? Because that's what I asked him. I said, isn't this guy a stranger? He's known him for a while. If it's just one Slurpee, I say you don't take it. But he said that the guy had 3. So like you said, some bullshittery was going on at the 7-Eleven, and he got 3.
He gave one to my warehouse manager.
What's
this little Hispanic dude is out there drinking it. So my new drink, and this is not knowing where you're from. What the call is as far as
I'm asking Mark what Mark would do in this situation.
Oh,
so like I'm first of all, like, okay, if you're asking me if like someone I had known said, here, you got to try this, it's fucking amazing. Yeah, you trust them.
Okay. Is that kind of what the vibe is like that? Are you like it? Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
But I need to add that also there would be something odd about someone with multiples of these being like, hey,
you guys
you just got to try. Like, who wants the Slizzer?
Yes. Okay. So what my thought is, Dad, if it's dosed with something, it's going to happen during this show, which is going to be great. And I will also know to call the police, and I will tell them you got a stranger Slurpee. Yep. And you made a schlizzle, but before it was called a splizzle or whatever you said, Mark, I can't say the words right. Dad, you named it what? What did you name it? You called it
because it's an alternative to a Long Island iced tea, and it's different. I've named it, Mark, the New Jersey Juice Box.
And he did that before.
I did that before I even knew.
Yeah, he didn't know that you were from there. I was like, hey, Mark's gonna love that shit. He's like, why? I'm like,
so I'm chugging a New Jersey juice box right now.
Okay.
Delicious and refreshing.
Fucking fantastic.
So this is ridiculous. Welcome to the Highlight Zone. We're gonna go over 3 bizarrely different episodes today. We're going over a level 10 episode. We're going over a mediocre one. And then, in my opinion, we're going over one that is at the bottom or in the lower of my rankings. So you're going to see all different 3, including, like I said, one is t-shirt worthy. And as a matter of fact, I am wearing the shirt. And next to me, my little friend here is also excited to be a part of the show. And Mark is going to retell that episode. But real quickly, I want to give a shout out. Not only to Paramount Plus, which is where you go to watch all of these.
That's where I always go.
Last weekend was 4th of July weekend, and a channel I've never heard of before. Now, yes, Mark, I still have Sling TV because I love watching live TV. I love watching live TV, and I'm never going to go away from that. I can't do it like
I have Hulu Live.
Okay, cool. Okay, you get it. Like Steve's family, they're like, no, we're only on demand. And I can't do that. I like to troll. It's the same thing with the radio. I have Sirius because I love to troll.
more than anything else, it's about the DVR.
Absolutely.
Because without the DVR with live TV, you're forced to wait until like 3 a.m. or the next day, and you're a day
Absolutely.
behind. And
Yeah,
I don't want to be a day behind. I want to be commercial breaks behind.
that's
Like
well said. And
like
East Coast, you do have that delay for anything live. Yeah.
I I I DVR Monday Night Raw every week because it's 3 hours long. But I know if I start it at 9:15, I'll end it right on time with no commercials.
Absolutely. See, nicely done. That's a masterclass. Well, last weekend, and my dad got obsessed because we both watched Sling, a channel called Heroes and Icons. So go look them up if you want to. I am now one of their biggest fans because they did the Twilight Zone marathon. They did it for like you get 2 Twilight Zone marathons a year. 4th of July, and it's on Heroes and Icons, and then on New Year's Day. New Year's Day and New Year's Eve is on Sci-fi. So I was obsessed with watching them. But what I liked about what Heroes and Icons did is they had a programmer that clearly knew the Twilight Zone. And I've actually reached out to them by voicemail and email this week because I would love to get their programmer on the show. Dad, this show was not in order. They kind of piggybacked and did this thing where it was like season 1, season 5, season 4, 4, 2. And it was cool because the episodes kind of flowed in a weird way. And it was awesome. So big shout out to Heroes and Icons, whatever that channel is, because last weekend's Rod, White, and Blue was absolutely fantastic. So, Dad, we kept on going. But I also want to say one other thing on that is they did play the 80s versions of the Twilight Zone, which I have been rewatching. They're in color. Some are okay, and a lot of them are garbage. But I just watched the Shelley Duvall episode the morning that they announced that she died. So a quick in memoriam for Shelley Duvall, who was one of my favorite characters in The Shining, but she's a Twilight Zone character. Yeah, in the 80s version, in season 2, episode 5, she plays an ugly person, which is heartbreaking. It's a real sad episode. But anyway, yeah, she just died this week.
She will always be known as olive oil.
Oh my God. See, I said The Shining and you went to Popeye. Yeah. Yep. Crazy. So anyway. All right, here we go. We're 7 minutes into the show, and we're going to actually start talking about the Twilight Zone now with an episode I'm doing first. And we're skipping the first episode because we have to have our guest go at the end. So we're going to go right to season 2, episode 8. Season 2, episode 7 is Mark's. We're going to get to that in a second. The Lateness of the Hour. And this episode was aired on December 2nd, 1960. And I have some very passionate opinions to say about this. It was written by Rod Serling. This was a Rod Serling episode. And Dad, I'm pretty sure you nailed that, right? You would have figured that by the dialogue. And it was directed by Jack Smite. So here we go. Real quick.
You speak passion. There's also several actors in this that have expressed passion. Anyway, I'll let you go.
Okay. Oh my God, I couldn't get that to work. I couldn't get it to work. It will not play on here. He had a request. I forgot to tell you that earlier. I'll get to that in a second. Okay.
Well, I'll let you relive it in person.
I feel so bad right now. I forgot to tell you that this morning. That's literally the reason I called to tell you, besides I almost threw up in the middle of the night. Mark, sorry, long story. Okay. Opening narration. The residence of Dr. William Lauren, which in reality is a menagerie for machines. We're about to discover that sometimes the product of man's talent and genius can walk amongst us untouched by the normal ravages of time. These are Dr. Lauren's robots, built to function as well as artistic perfection. But in a moment, Dr. William Lauren, wife and daughter, will discover that Mark is laughing. Discover that perfection is relative and even robots have to be paid for. And very shortly, we'll be shown exactly what is the bill. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to try to do the...
You were doing so good reading your little speech. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Shut up.
Because
what?
I guarantee... Wait, you have to go back and read that again.
No, I did it once and you laughed at me in the middle.
I wasn't laughing at you because you were something about being untouched, and all I kept thinking was like, oh no, things are being touched in that house.
See? Oh my God. Well, wait a minute.
Oh, you have no idea.
That's the thing that my dad had one request that I failed to do. Okay. So there's a lot of touching in this episode, which is very weird. Okay.
It's a very touching episode.
Let's break it down. There's pretty much 3 characters in this. the lead actress is Dad. It's our girl Inger Stevens from
Yep.
The Hitchhiker. And I highly recommend, if you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to it, because we really do a whole spiel on her. She's one of my favorites. But anyway, so it starts with this girl, and it is immediately Twilight Zone, right, Dad? Where her mom and dad are literally 70 years older than her. And she is super adorable. Sarah's like, God, she has a tight little bod. She kept on saying that because she's adorable. She's gorgeous. And so this whole episode takes place in like a brownstone lobby, almost like a living room of a brownstone. It's a very old timey mansion, but it takes place in one living room with a fireplace and then like the stairway. That's it. It doesn't go anywhere else. So it starts off with this older lady getting massaged, and she is getting massaged and is making really bizarre sounds. And that's what my dad asked if I could do, is if I could isolate those sounds and input them in the show. And I can't do it because none of them are on a recordable thing, Dad. I tried all, you can ask Sarah. I tried hard. It is kicking in. So
Mark, did you watch this episode, by the way? Have you watched this before the show?
I watched everything last night.
Okay. So my first comment, I take notes on all these things. And to Steve's point here, my first highlighted note is, while her old mom is moaning in ecstasy.
Yes. Okay.
My first note was, clearly old lady is feeling those fingers.
Yes.
He clearly has this written down. So you guys, first of all, I botched this. Mark, can you real quick tell us your history?
But I can hear you.
Can you tell us your history with the Twilight Zone? Did you ever watch it before?
Never, ever.
Okay. So Dad, that is becoming a trend now. So far.
Which is why we do this, is to change the whole culture in this country. One person at a time, one guest host at a time.
Well, so I should probably also tell you, and Steve, you may remember, Twilight Zone really does incorporate two of the things I generally don't like, which is creepy and old. And like, I used to have a favorite saying that I didn't care about anything before 1986.
I very vividly remember this conversation.
So like, and not that I don't appreciate art, right? But like, I don't necessarily like scary. It's not my thing. So, but as I've gotten older, I've grown more appreciative of the art.
Okay.
And that is not going to come into play in this episode,
right,
but it will come into the next.
Okay. Well, okay. So first of all, I have to give major shout out to Sarah. She's getting me a refill from downstairs because I am bone dry. I should have started the show with a bio of who you are, but it went so off the rails with the New Jersey Knicks. What is the New Jersey what? The New Jersey Juice Box. The New Jersey Juice Box. And then
New Jersey Juice Box.
Call that
no. You called it. What'd you call it?
You had it earlier. I don't think you can do it now.
The
Slizzard?
Slizzard! Damn it. Yes, that. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, the rest stop Slizzard.
Oh, we're getting somewhere. And I'll tell you straight up, we're way off track and I love it. Okay. So the daughter, Inger Stevens, is super annoyed at her mom getting massaged, and her dad, who is 75 years old, is getting his pipe fixed or whatever, refilled by these servants. And you start to learn very early on that Inger, I'm going to call her Jana. That's her name, right?
Jana, yeah.
Oh.
Hello, Sarah.
They're saying hi.
Sarah.
Wow.
Okay. So, I had to give her my cup through the thing. It's funny. This is.
I'm yelling. I just realized we were both.
You're yelling into my ear. Exactly. Yeah. This is exactly.
Steve answers to Sarah quite often.
So all the time. So Jana is in there and she is saying, "Stop it! This is creepy. Stop doing this." Blah 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 blah. They're robots. So you learn very early, before Rod Serling's intro even happens, that these are all robots, except for, with an asterisk, the old man, the old lady getting massaged, and Jana, the main girl. So it cuts. He does his thing. You find out that they're robots. Now, I'm going to try to accelerate through this one kind of quickly. She gets super freaking annoyed. Jana does, at the robots. She hates them. She's like, "Mom and Dad, we need to go out. We need to have friends. We should go out to go. We should go to dinner." And what does her dad say? "Why would we go to dinner? Because the only bad things can happen. We're going to get rained on. We're going to have food that's greasy off of unclean forks or whatever the hell he said. And so he's all super against going out. So you get the idea that they have not left this one room or this house for quite some time, right? Am I on track here? That's right. You guys are feeling the same thing? Yeah.
You're
Okay,
right.
so-
And there's one more episode of ecstasy and moaning during that piece.
So to bring on, Dad, I'm really sorry I couldn't get it to work.
These perfect windows.
Yes.
At the perfect climate. In the perfect temperature.
And the best thing is she sounds like that, and she's American. That accent is bizarre to me. I love it.
Yep.
That old-timey accent. But anyway,
Father.
so they're going on, and she kind of at one point throws down an ultimatum, and Janet goes, listen to me. I'm sick of you treating these robots. Wait, I'm ahead of myself, because this is the thing I wanted to bring up. She goes outside. Oh, look at the hair. Are you trying to hide that you look cute? No. Yes, thank you. She just like crawled on the floor to give it to me. By the way, that is not how anything works in my house outside of this exact moment. Okay, so she is going through and she's getting super pissed. And Dad, this is the thing I wanted to really hammer onto you yesterday, but I didn't on the phone. I hate the robot butlers deeply because why are they such sassy assholes? They're like, you shouldn't treat your father like that. You should. And they start like berating her. Now, I think you figure out why later.
Well, you know why. He programmed every one of them.
Well, hold on. No, I mean, at this point, the viewer is supposed to believe that Jana is a human. Spoiler, right? So why are they talking to her in such garbage? Like they're such assholes. So
because he programmed them to be alive.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going through. And so
they're and they're also programmed to basically love him.
Okay, that's a good. Shit. You're right. That is true. So they're like in protective mode, right? Yeah. Okay.
And so I would assume that also means that like they know she didn't exist probably before a couple weeks ago.
So this one is off the rails because I'm so keyed up about this. So they go off and she says, I'm going to give you an ultimatum. Oh, she throws a glass and she comes out. She pours the glass down and then she slams it and she's like, clean this. And I love that because I hate these robot butlers like deeply. They have sass and they shouldn't. And so she smashes this glass. It's like, clean it. And then they snap too. So she starts to get annoyed with this. And then she goes, I want you guys to choose. It's either me here or I'm leaving. Right? Is it the robots or me? And he's like, that is physically impossible. I built these things to be indestructible. And she's like, you got to choose, man. I'm leaving. And the mom gets out of her second hour of her gross massage and is like, you can't leave. You can't leave. So she's like, you got to do it. Goes up to her room. So the dad goes, okay. And this part made my skin crawl. I'm telling you, Dad, I hated this scene and I'm going to bring it up in other episodes. So eventually the dad, who's, like I said, 75 years old, and he goes to the robot. He goes to the lead butler robot, and he goes, I need you guys to go down in the cellar. And the butler robot all of a sudden gets all butthurt about it and goes, but I've been a great servant to you, sir. And he goes, I know it's something else is going on. And he's like, but I've been a great servant to you. I did this. Then all the other robot butlers start coming out in like a big circle. And they're like, I've been the greatest servant, man. And they start all doing their thing. And I'm like, shut up. If you're robots, just go. So they all are like yelling at him. And he's like, you need to go into the cellar. Just listen to me and go into the cellar. So they do. They disappear. They go into the cellar begrudgingly. Robots begrudgingly go to the cellar. So they go down into the cellar. And finally, he goes and he tells her, like, it's fine. They're gone. I chose you. You know, we're good. To the daughter, right? So she comes running downstairs and she hugs the mom, the creep, and she's like, we're going to go on vacations. We're going to do this and we're going to do this. We're going to have friends. And I'm so creeped out by the idea that a 26-year-old that looks like this is excited to hang out with her 75-year-old parents. I don't even want to hang out with my own kid. And she's 17. So it's like all of this, I hate this vibe. And then she starts kind of figuring out that there's some weird shit because they're reacting in a way that's not positive. They're not super pumped like she is. So she goes, and here's where the episode seriously starts to fall apart, in my opinion. She grabs a very prominent photo album that's just readily available. And she goes, why am I not in any of these old photos as a kid? Right? Like, why is it just you and the robots 30 years ago? You and the robots 20 years ago? You and the robots 10 years ago? Why is it only me like this? And then you find out that she is actually a robot. And they're like, you are our daughter. We didn't make our own flesh, so we made you. And she does one of my favorite Twilight Zone things is she goes up the stairs and she starts banging her arm on the wall, which is on if you look up a lot of twist endings, that scene is on a lot of people's top 10 for the show. So it's worth watching.
Pain. No pain.
No, and she's doing it with this accent. And she's like, I don't know where this is, but that's not it. So she's doing the no pain. And she's freaking out. So the mom and dad are like, okay, we have to figure out, is she our daughter or whatever. Cut to the cold closing, which dad is already keyed up on. The mom, and the camera is zoomed in on the old lady in a lounger again, from like, the camera zoomed in on her face and below. And all you can see is hands rubbing her shoulder. And hey, what is the name, dad, that she's calling her now? Is she still calling her by her name, or did they change that?
I think so. Yeah. I've always called her Jay in the
Jay,
story.
Okay. So she's like, more. I love this massage. And then in the distance, the freaking dad is getting his pipe filled or whatever the hell is going on. Camera zooms out, and their daughter, that was the rebellious one that was apparently programmed better than all of the other robots, is now just a maid robot in a traditional sexy maid outfit, massaging the lady like, yes, madam, whatever you need. And that's how it ends with the closing narration. Let this be the postscript. Should you be worn out by the rigors of competing in a very competitive world, if you're distraught from having to share the existence with the noises and neuroses of the 20th century, if you crave serenity but want it full-time with no strings attached, get yourself a workroom in the basement and then drop a note to Dr. and Mrs. William Lauren. They're a childless couple who made comfort a life's work, and maybe there are a few to do-it-yourself pamphlets available in the Twilight Zone. Any closing jabs or remarks, boys? Because this one, to me, is a 7. It's a 7 because of the twist that she's a robot in the no pain scene. If it wasn't for that, this would be lower to me. Dad, rating. What do you got?
The only thing it had going for it was that little twist at the end. I gave it also a 7. The moaning kept me in. That was my hook, although it was a light hook. I couldn't figure out how this old geezer is getting it by just the neck. So that was interesting, and she kept it up throughout the whole series. Mom's constant moaning was hilarious, and I've created a new rating just for this show. It's a one-off rating. I give this story 3 moans out of 3 for erotic content. Beyond
this is a good show.
So beyond that, it wasn't memorable. The moaning will stick in my mind, sadly, forever. And she was just reprogrammed by her dad. That was simple. He's a genius. He's a robot builder. He just took her downstairs, switched line A and line B, and suddenly she becomes a subservient maid. And that's the end of the story.
I can't.
So I gave it a 7.
I can't. Okay, so we'll get Mark's.
I'm listening.
Do you have a rating between 1 to 10 on this one?
Sorry, my dog.
Even though your pool of comparables is small, since you haven't.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
It is.
Yeah, so this was the second episode I watched.
Right.
It was. Probably on par. Maybe, you know what? Oh God.
Did we influence your opinion?
1 to 10?
Yeah, 1 to 10.
1 to 10.
Yeah.
Don't forget the moan factor. Do not forget the moan.
No, the moan factor was the instant like, oh, this episode's different. And then you know what? I think you guys are both real close. I'm gonna go 7-2.
Okay.
No.
Well,
okay.
Here's the funny thing is the IMDb rating is a 7.1. So I guess everyone here is kind of in line. And Dad, I think that the twist factor weighs heavily, because if this didn't have the twist, this is a 5 or lower for me, to be honest. And we didn't say this in advance because we went
disagree.
out of oh, you disagree? You think? Wait, why?
No, I didn't think it was much of a twist.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
That she was the robot? Because I think there's kind of two twists in this episode. One, that she's a robot, and the second, that the parents, after begging and treating her like a human, then just turn her into a bot at the end, which I guess is kind of like reprogramming your Alexa. It's not a big deal, but I don't know. They made a big deal about it. So I thought that they were kind of...
Yeah. Yeah, that's what brings it down for me, because instantly, like, I was entertained by the moaning. And I love that the father kept calling them robots.
Robots. Oh, yep. Dad, we have a whole thing on this show.
I can't delete the robots. I've put years of my life into them.
All right.
Me, my X-Men.
So we're all around the same page with rating, which is cool. I kind of like this. There's only two pieces of trivia, and Dad, one of them wait? Can
I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Did anyone else wonder, like, one, is this the first time that this has happened? Because the maid that was giving her the massage the first time was also a girl.
Yeah, and she was super annoyed. Like, first, like, we're doing this again.
She and when she like gets pushed down the steps, she looks up like, sassy little bitch.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, I forgot to say that she literally pushed one down the stairs at the beginning. I said that she was yelling at them, but
and that's when you knew they were robots. By the way, I give this robots. The 7 was partially owned because she rolled down a complete flight of stairs. She had a great stunt double, and then she popped up at the bottom of the stairs with a smile on her face and not a single injury. That's when you knew these are not normal humans.
Okay, so there are only two pieces of trivia. One of these we should have explained before. So, Mark, your episode came before this in chronological order. This episode started off, and you'd have to look this up if you want to read about it, a big problem with MGM at the time. MGM said that the Twilight Zone was too expensive. So they said, hey, there's this new technology called VHS, and you guys are going to record on VHS. So you will notice from watching Mark's episode, A Nick of Time, to this, it looks different. The framing is different. The way the camera moves is different, and it's foggier. So Rod Serling himself had to go through this because the studio told him to. He lasted, I think, between 6 and 8 episodes, Dad, and then said, never again. You're bringing me back with my full on-screen camera budget or I'm gone. And they caved, but you'll notice throughout the timeline of the Twilight Zone, this is a huge monumental moment because it looks grainy and weird because they had to film it on VHS. Okay, so that is the first episode that was filmed on VHS. The only other trivia on this one, which is cool, is just Rod Serling does not appear with his speech until over 7 minutes in, which is unusually late for the series, which I also agreed with that. I was like, damn, we already know they're robots before it's freaking over. Okay.
Well, because they were too busy chewing the scenery. They had like 7 lines, but they took 13 minutes to say it.
Absolutely.
No but shit. There was a lot of moaning.
No, is the most perfect window. I cannot delete my robots. I have worked for years. Put countless hours and money into my robots.
This is exactly how they all talked in this episode. It was nauseating. I'm like, what is this accent? You guys are so extra.
And the wife, you know what? It's probably the wife's fault.
What?
Like they couldn't have kids, but she's just such a fucking nag. Like, oh, Jeffrey, please rub my shoulders. Rub my shoulder. You know, it's the only thing that gives me joy since you couldn't give me a baby. You know, I live in a castle, but it's just me and you because you couldn't give me a baby. Just rub my shoulders. So, you know, he's like, I gotta build something that can give my wife a fucking back rub.
Yeah.
Well, you'll notice in this episode,
and then he took care of that
6 feet of her.
problem, right?
Oh
And then he
my
took care of that problem.
Yeah,
And then he was
did.
like, oh, wait, if I could build something that can give me a back rub, I
Oh.
could build something that'll bring me a fucking cigar.
Yeah.
What the fuck on?
Yeah.
Oh, and then I'll build a sweeper, and I'll build a fucking fixer, and I'll build a book. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, someone can bring me snacks.
Dude,
this is fucking. Why would I ever want to leave? And then what happens is the wife, after a few years of like being served, right, and just being given everything on a silver platter, is like, oh, I love my massages and being waited on hand and foot. But you know, I still always wanted a child. Because it's never fucking enough. So the guy's like, all right, I'll build you a fucking robot kid. And then and then that didn't work. So, okay. Now she's the fucking massager.
Now, I hate it. I hate it. All right, so Dad, let's go with this. I forgot I didn't send you the dialogue. Do you want me to read the intro bio?
I'll let you read that. Read the intro.
All right, so Dad, sorry, this is the funniest episode yet. Okay, so this would be episode 9 of season 2, The Trouble with Templeton, which aired on December 9th of 1960. So the opening narration is, pleased to present for your consideration Mr. Booth Templeton, serious and successful star of over 30 Broadway plays, who is not quite all right today. Yesterday and its memories is what he wants, and yesterday is what he'll get. Soon his years and his troubles would descend on him in an avalanche. In order to be crushed, Mr. Booth Templeton will escape from his theater and his world and make his debut in another stage, in another world that we call the Twilight Zone. Bam! Your turn, buddy.
The Trouble with Templeton. First of all, I've never heard that name ever in my life except in this episode and watching Charlotte's Web.
Oh,
and that
by the way,
scuzzy little rat named Templeton.
Just so we're clear, everyone, he literally texted me and he goes, do I know a Templeton? Isn't he a cartoon rat? And I'm like, yep, from Charlotte's Web. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay. So now I'm watching this episode and thinking, okay, this is this little rat from the show. So this old play actor is getting dressed. He's ready to go to his first rehearsal for a new play that he's putting on. And he's got his manservant next to him, helping him get dressed. He looks out the window of his second-story bedroom and he sees his young wife out there cavorting with her boyfriend, this young dude. Let's say call him the pool boy, and they're out by the pool and they're playing around and he's drying her off, and then they put their arms around each other and walk off.
Can I ask I'm gonna ask one question right now instead of saving it to the end. Where is I have this written down as a question to ask, but you did such a good job.
Yeah.
Where is he living? Is that a mansion or a hotel? And because he says
it's a mansion.
So what do you mean? The pool
has grounds around it.
My wife invited her 25-year-old friend to come in and swim.
That's the whole point. He comments to his manservant, quote, "She's not very discreet, is she?" He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So yes, he's bringing guys over all the time. He admits to his manservant, quote, "I don't love her and probably never did."
Yep.
His only true love was his first wife, Laura. She was 18 when they got married and died at 25. So he knows that he's not going to satisfy her in any way. She's out there having fun. He doesn't give a shit. That he could care less about that. So the next scene is driver drops him off at the back of the stage where he's going to have the first rehearsal for his new play. He's a couple of minutes late. He runs up to the back stairs. The door opens, and this guy opens the door also, is on the inside walking out, and he says, "Well, who are you? You're late, Booth." And Booth asks him, "Well, who are you?" And he says, "Well, I'm one of the investors in this new play." And he goes, "You're a couple of minutes late. You better hurry up because the boy Wonder won't like it." Well, the boy Wonder is this new director, and this dude tells Booth, "Yeah, they changed directors last minute, and we've got this new guy in there." So they enter the building, and they're standing in the back corner while this new director is angrily describing his style and expectations to the other actors sitting around a table. And he says there are 3 significant dates in a play: the first rehearsal, the opening night, and the closing night. So he then turns and looks at Booth and criticizes Booth for being late. Now, at this point, Booth, who's this seasoned lead actor, he sort of freaks out and he he has this little mini breakdown and he runs back outside. The minute he goes outside, he's greeted by people in this area in the lot, and they're clapping and cheering him on. And he's going, "Wow, this is exciting. I didn't expect this." But anyway, he walks down the corner, and a stagehand runs up to him and says, "Your wife just called. She says to meet her at the restaurant." So he suddenly realizes, he asks this stagehand, "Where is she?" And he names a restaurant, an Italian restaurant.
Right around the corner. It's right around.
And it's right around the corner. So he knows then he's been transported back to 1927 when they were first married. And he looks at a marquee on the side of the building, and it's announcing this play that he's in, and it's got his name in bold letters, and it says starring Bloom, blah, 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 1927. And the movie's called The Great Seed. Well, I've Googled it. I'd never heard of The Great Seed. So anyway, enough about that. So he goes inside.
He does added research, folks.
I'm sorry.
He looks up the
Great Seed. This goes back to moaning and groaning, I guess. So back then, this was a speakeasy because this is during Prohibition. So he has to knock on this discreet little door. A dude opens this little flap, welcomes him in, and says, "Yeah, come on in." He goes inside and he says, "Where's my wife? She's not at our normal table." "Oh, she's sitting over at that other table with so-and-so," this other young guy. So Booth sits down while she's eating, and he's fawning all over her because this is the love of his life. He hasn't seen her for, 40 years. And she doesn't return.
Yeah, it's weird, by the way, that he's super over on her, and she's
well, of course. He's been pining for her for 40 years since she died. All of a sudden, he has a chance to relive his life with her, and he's just got these 40 years of pent-up emotion and love for her, and he's expecting it to come back from her to him, and it doesn't. She looks at him and just doesn't buy into this. She brushes him off, tells him to take off his makeup. So he's still in his old real garb. She's looking at him going, "Take it off. I know your voice, but you're not my husband." And he explains to her he's from another time, another place. And at this point, they think he's crazy. And they say, "Well, now you're back here. What did you expect?" And they laugh at him. She gets up. She starts dancing. She's really mocking him at this point. There's no surprise that this dude has come back from the future. She's basically just looking at him like, "Well, what did you expect? What do you want me to do?" He grabs her arm, tries to pull her up, and she slaps him. And at that point, she starts dancing and calls him a fool, tells him to go back wherever he came from, and that they don't want him here. So the very end, he leaves. He's totally frustrated. He leaves. He goes outside. He walks back to the backstage door. And it's interesting at this point. There is a little bit of magic with the cinematography. All of the people in this jam-packed dance floor bar suddenly stop moving, and the whole scene fades to black.
Okay, the lighting in this scene is worth watching, even though I'm not a fan of this episode. The lighting kind of is the transitional thing between the times, and it is so good because it starts in the back, then it fades to the front, then it fades to the literal character right behind the star. I think that this is groundbreaking, and I'm shocked that this isn't in the trivia because the lighting factor is awesome.
This speaks to the Twilight Zone, the whole series, all of the episodes from the very beginning. And Steve, I've called it that hook, that twist, those things. This was a piece of that today we would just shrug off as that's cinematography. That's magic that they can do with the cameras. But back then, this was groundbreaking, I thought, and it was very intriguing. Anyway, he walks to the back door of the same stage, goes in this time, listens to this director, and he approaches the director and basically apologizes for being late and says, "I'm ready to begin the show." That's the end of the story. So to me, what I took from that was, here's a life lesson. All of us remember, the older we get, we remember the good things from our past, the further away they are. We forget how shitty it was in school. We forget, except for all of our stress dreams that we have because we can't take the math test. But we remember the good times. We forget the bad times. He dreamt of the good times with her, but he didn't really understand, or he had forgotten, that there were also bad times. He wanted to go back, and in this brief opportunity, he realized, you know what? My time is now. That time is past. So you can't live in the past. Move on. My rating on this was, my SHOT, right? My shot theory, Steve.
Wait, hold on a second.
The story.
Wait, hold on a second. Closing narration. Mr. Booth Templeton,
go for it.
Who shared with the most human beings the hunger to recapture his past moments, the ones that soften with years. But in his case, the characters of his past blocked him out and sent him back to his own time, which is where we find him now. Mr. Booth Templeton, who had a round trip ticket into the Twilight Zone. Now go for it. Sorry, buddy.
So exactly what I had said. I had not read that, but that's the way I took it as well. It's a good story with a good moral to it, a good ending that you stop and think, you know what, in life, you remember the good, you forget the bad, move forward, because that's what life is all about. I thought the story was slow. I wasn't surprised by much of anything. I wasn't even surprised when it went back to 2020 or 1927 for him. I was a little confused that his image didn't change to the age, that he was still the old geezer that he was, which is why they looked at him and, hey, take your makeup off. I didn't think there was a hook in this. I didn't think the story was that original. And there wasn't really a surprise twist at the end. There was a little bit of all four, but not enough to get me going. I gave this a 7.
Okay. Mark, what do you got?
I didn't get it.
Okay. Can I just tag on with you right now? Okay.
Dad,
I also didn't get it. And this has a 5 for me because I don't understand. And Sarah looked it up and read what they're trying to say. It still, to me, doesn't make sense. To me, this is one of the lower rated ones because I don't understand what are they, what is happening?
You realize relatively quickly that they're trying this is a piece with a specific vision, right?
There's a message. There's a message.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks. You know it, right? Because you could just the way it's filmed, the way it's portrayed. So because of that, you're trying to figure out the message the whole time. But I feel like it keeps swerving. Until the last couple minutes, I thought it was about a guy with dementia.
That's an interesting. I kind of like that.
Because I was he was older. He knows his wife is cheating on him, but he knows he's he can't go anywhere, right? And then he can't do anything, and it's I know I'm married. It's my fault, right? And then he goes to work and he walks through that door and he's in his mind transporting to another time, right? And he's getting lost in his past, and then his past is saying no, fight, right? I wish they would have hit me over the head a little bit more in the with the scenes with his wife, because I just, it was like they were reading from 2 different scripts and I didn't understand it.
Yeah,
it lost me.
What would you have a rating for it, or did I already ask you? I forget.
No, you didn't. I'm probably I'm probably in the middle, maybe a 6.3.
Okay, so Dad, here's my question, and I still don't really understand this. He actually went back, right? So he did go back in time because that was his wife and his friend and all that other shit, right? And you can't lie about the buildings and all that stuff. What's with him finding the script and then reading off their words? He found a script. Is that hey, whatever. And okay, let's just ask that. Well, what is the script what is it?
The symbolism to me was she gave it to him in 2020 or 1927, and he still had it in his pocket when he went back. In other words, it wasn't dementia. He had really done that. To me, that script was the one carryover that said, you really did this. And he reached in his pocket and goes, you know what? That really did happen to me. It wasn't what was written on the script so much as this really happened. This is proof that it happened. And the message to me, I'm older than you guys. So instantly I caught on that this is the classic. Remember the good things, you forget the bad things. This thing hit me in the first 3 or 4 minutes, and it played itself out just as I'd thought that it would.
And I get that, which is honestly why for me it's still at a 5, because I still think the story is a little disjointed, and his
Yep.
like borderline rebellion at the end, sticking up to the young guy and telling him what the hell is going on, I thought was super cheesy. I was not a big fan of this episode, mostly just because of what Mark said. Dad, I watched this twice in a row. The second one I brought Sarah and I'm like, you've got to tell me what's happening. And then she goes, I think it's this. And then she looks up, she goes, yeah, it was this. If it takes me 2 times to watch it, first of all, I'm not that bright, but I was like, no, I should get this. I should get what's going on here. And then when Sarah read me what the director and the writer were trying to, say, I'm like, there are still holes. The script still doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand. So that's why it has a low rating for me. I still think it's worth a watch because of the cinematography and that storytelling. Which leads us to Mark's episode, which is actually in front of all of these, but you probably don't need to do a lot of research on this one. You will recognize the characters. It is the first time that we see, what's his name? William Shatner. Captain Kirk, William Shatner in arguably, I still am telling you, this is one of the better acting performances he's ever done, and it was his first episode here. Mark, tell us about Nick of Time as I hit my own Nick of Time machine right here.
All right, so Nick of Time originally aired November 18th, 1960, directed by Richard L. Baer, written by Richard Matheson and Rod Serling.
There you go. I like
All
that
right.
guy.
Do you want to read the intro, or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Go for it. Go.
All right. Do I get to read it like the narrator?
Yes. Oh my God, please do.
Belongs to Mr. Don S. Carter, male member of the honeymoon team en route to one Ohio countryside to New York City. In one moment, they will be subjected to a gift most humans never receive in a lifetime. For 1 penny, they will be able to look into the future. The time is now. The place is a little diner in Ridgeview, Ohio. And what this young couple doesn't realize is that this town happens to lie on the outskirts of the Twilight Zone.
So when do we have to start reading our intros in an accent? Because if so, we have to really start practicing our alter characters. All right, Marky, go for it, buddy.
So, all right. So I am going to freely admit that, you told me the point of this was to be a little inebriated of some sort.
Yes.
And with that in mind, I didn't know if that meant like while I was watching it also. And I actually had to have a debate with myself. Like, all right, like if I'm a little tipsy when I watch it and I'm a little tipsy when I tell it, is that like equal tipsy, or like should I watch it?
I see what you're saying. Double tipsy versus 1. I totally get that.
Yeah, like do you what mental state, right? So I decided, you can never go wrong with a little tipsy. Right?
Yeah, absolutely not.
That don't hurt anybody. So and so then for the record also, that this was the very first episode of the Twilight Zone I had ever watched.
Wait, is that a fact?
Cold.
Hey, Dad, his
100%
very
fact.
first episode is this one. That I love that, but it also sets a super high bar. Okay, go ahead.
And I'll tell you what, Kelly, I did it for you because I needed to spend time with you, sir.
Please don't.
No, I mean, you are, I don't know if you know, but you are a legend.
In my own mind, yes, I am.
All right, Mark, give us the breakdown.
All right, so William Shatner, Captain Kirk, is traveling on a road with what appears to be, I think, a not quite wife, but more than just a girlfriend. Because it's the 60s and they're traveling together, right? So, clearly, they're living in sin. So
I thought they were on a honeymoon.
I can't tell if they were on a honeymoon or not. If you look it up, it says they're fiance. It's a fiance because she says one of the questions is, "Will you ever get married?" And it says,
right. That's
yeah,
why. That's what made me believe like they're not quite. The probably fiance makes sense for that time period if two people are going away together, right? Because otherwise, she'd probably still be mooching off of mom and dad.
Yeah,
because you know. Well, listen. You can't. A typist only gets paid so much, right?
Right.
So the car breaks down. They make way to this little tiny town because you know that's what Ohio is little tiny towns in the middle of corn. And it's true. If you've ever been to Ohio, like you land in Columbus and then you drive through corn and then it's like, ooh, Chillicothe. And there's like 7 people in a fucking in a Getty.
No
like,
one knew
gas station
that you were gonna get a really good map of Ohio when you listen to this episode. All right, Rocka. Okay, go.
I used to travel a lot for work. So,
I know. Holy shit!
So
my face.
I have lots of stories about little towns like Chillicothe, Ohio. Which I've been to twice.
This is absolutely killing me right now. Okay, go.
So anyway, so let's call it. Captain Kirk and his fiance have landed in Chillicothe, Ohio, and they're gonna eat something other than corn. And the car breaks down, and they pull into Old Man Johnson's shop. And Old Man Johnson is like, oh, you got a bum flux capacitor there, man, and it's gonna take a few hours for me to get to Bob and Lee's General Store in the next county over and get it. So, but 3 hours or so, and you'll be able to pick up your car. I want to go back to 1960 in Chillicothe, Ohio.
Dad, he's on board. Mark, we have brought this up in like multiple episodes because you can take your car to a gas station and get the transmission replaced in 4 hours. Like this is I love that you just said that. I love you, Dad. He said what we've said.
Okay,
well, the days of knowing a guy just don't happen anymore.
No.
Now, I'm in Rome, Georgia, and I'm here to say you can still find that here. There are little backyard garages that will do that. Here's the thing that blew me away. Who gets towed by a tow truck where they let the drivers of the car sit in the car that's being towed? That is so friggin' illegal. The very first scene, he and her are in the back seat of their car while it's lifted off the ground on the back of a tow truck. That
is literally my favorite moment of this episode is, I had this episode memorized. Everyone that knows Twilight Zone does. But rewatching it, I'm like, did they just ride in on the car getting towed? I was cracking up.
It's not so much that he'll fix it in 4 hours. It's that they give free joy rides to people in broken down cars and they can sit in the steering wheel and play with it.
This shit is wild. Anyway, Mark, continue on. Okay. So they're at the restaurant now, Mark.
I'm good. Yeah. So Old Man Johnson's like, yeah, the diner over there. You go hang out or something. Talk to Sal. Get yourself some lunch because he knows a guy. Because Polar Pop.
We're cheersing.
Excuse me. to the New Jersey ice box, whatever it was.
Yeah, lunchbox.
The New Jersey juice box.
Oh, juice
New
box.
Jersey juice box.
Man, this episode is off the rails. All right, get to the diner at least.
We were never on rails.
Never.
Rails? Where we're going, we won't.
We don't need rails. Nice, Mark. Continue on.
Oh God, I smoked a lot this morning.
Okay, so they're at the diner. Okay.
Yeah. They go to the diner. So they go to the diner, and the old man, Old Man Joe's diner, and Joe really, really wanted them to have a chicken fried steak.
That's it, a chicken fried steak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
And which, by the way, don't ever eat a chicken fried fucking steak.
I don't like chicken fried anything, especially that, but okay. Dad, you do, right? You like a chicken fried steak?
I will not comment.
Okay.
I love chicken fried steak.
Well, I guess
Yep.
let me ask you a question, like, because you told me before you're in Georgia, right? So like your
Right.
experience may be different. Like in
This
my
goes back to
experience,
when I was a kid.
a chicken fried steak is just a way to hide a really shitty steak.
I kind of always
Well,
thought that too. I don't like
at
it.
home, we never had steak. It was just hamburger that was put in a patty and then
Right, but then it's
chicken
not
fried.
chicken fried. Oh, okay. So here's the difference. All right, we
No,
got
but
to
it was steak because it's hamburger.
got it.
That goes back to the 60s. So
Okay.
Outside of this meal, let's continue on because there's a lot to unpack here. Okay. They're at this diner and he says, get a chicken
Yeah,
fried
but see,
steak. But Mark, what does he get instead? Because you texted it to me. I almost swerved off the road laughing. Was that freaking
so
lettuce?
yeah, so no, and then they order a fucking tomato and lettuce sandwich.
Tomato and lettuce
Yes.
sandwich. I love this. Okay, so they're
And
at
like, and already I'm like, oh, you.
this... Okay, go ahead.
And then the owner's like, you sure you don't want that chicken fried steak? And so I should also probably point out that because this is my first episode, I was really trying to pay attention to the details
Okay. All right.
because I didn't know what I was supposed to be watching or expecting.
Oh shit.
So,
okay, that's a good point.
So anyway, I thought the whole steak interaction was more important than it was.
Oh my god, I need to be
Oh.
more clear. Just watch it for fun and retain what you can. Oh shit, I'm sorry. I thought that the steak conversation was more important. It's hysterical. Okay, go ahead.
But I was also really kind of like, dude, this is how you treat your girl. You know, you can't let her a fucking tomato and lettuce sandwich. Come on.
Right.
But then quickly, you know, you start to realize throughout this that like that they've dropped the hints, right? Like he's superstitious. You know, he's got a rabbit's foot on his thing. They allude to it through conversation, and then quite immediately he is faced with, you know, oh wow, you put a penny in this machine and you can ask it any yes or no question.
All right, so to clarify, and we have to finish this episode in like 5 minutes. They're sitting in a diner. Yeah, the napkin dispenser has a penny thing in there that says it's a Mystic Seer. Ask me a question with a yes or no answer. So it's a penny thing. At each table has one because that's important later.
Right, I think. So
it might not be, but that's kind of why I love this episode. I want to ask you about it later.
Okay. So yeah, so he just starts asking a million questions, right? And clearly you can tell immediately that like they're trying to tell you, okay, he's superstitious and he's going to become obsessed with this thing, right? Because and that she has seen this before.
That is a factor I didn't think about until like my fourth rewatch, by the way. I don't know why that you picked it up fast. You're right. Okay, so it also goes to my tone of this episode. I'm not entirely sure. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. So throughout it, you know, they allude to earlier because there's some really what you do get in this episode is a lot of you can tell early wonderful Shatner exposition, right? Like
big time.
Like yeah, like oh baby, we're gonna go get some lunch and then I can see about my promotion, right? Like he doesn't have that quite this Shatner pause at points like is right there, right?
It is, and
you can tell.
The first thing that starts this is he asks if he's going to get the job promotion, and it says it's already been decided in your favor. So he's like, I'm going to go call, right? And he goes to verify, and that's crucial because he goes to verify that it's real, and it is. He got the promotion.
Yeah. So he verifies that he gets the promotion, and now, you know, that's it. This thing is the God's real thing. It is, I want to be big. It is that legit, right? So, because that's where I went. I was like, oh, I want to be big. And it's legit. So he wants to just keep asking it questions, but eventually he asks, you know, maybe the car will be done early. Will the car be done early? And then it said, you know, it is possible. And then like 30 seconds later, they're like, hey, the car is actually ready early. And he's like, oh my God,
which
We
is the
can
second
leave.
part of living in
Right.
1960. Is Dad, the guy literally says, we found the really remote part you were looking for.
Yes.
I figured you were going to be in town, so I walked around looking for you. What? Like, I'm lucky if I get a text from when my car is done with an oil change, let alone someone walking around looking for me in town. I love this time in my life. It's not even my life. This time of period. Jesus Christ. All right, go ahead, Mark.
Right? Because I thought about that too. I was like, the last time my car was done getting an oil change, no one called me. And then when I went to fucking just pick it up, there was no one there.
See, and this guy literally dropped the rest of his clients to go walk around town to find him. Okay, we got to speed this shit up. Go for it, Mark.
Sorry.
No,
so anyway, most awesome town ever. Like, you should just fucking stay because that's the right thing to do, right? But no, he wants to go to New York on vacation, which is just fucking stupid. So it's stupid, right? So no one goes to New York on vacation. But she is able to, convince him, let's just go, right? We were on our way. Let's go celebrate your vacation, your promotion. Let's get married. Yeah, baby, I love you. And they go back to the car, and then you see another couple come in, and I'm missing something here.
I love all of this. Okay.
I'm missing something here because you see, I purposely didn't take notes.
That's good. And I like that you didn't take notes. It's everyone different strokes for different folks. So she starts telling him, and she's like, listen, are you taking this too seriously? You can't do everything, blah, 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 blah. He puts in another penny, keeps on going with the answers. And finally he says, okay, we're going to leave. And they pick up and they leave. And then here's the part that I am hooked on. I think obviously that's the point of this episode, is to get hooked on this thing. Another couple comes in and he puts a penny in and says, am I allowed to ask more questions now? And then he grabs the card, doesn't read it to the audience, looks at his wife, and they then start again. Leading to, Mark, read the ending of the thing.
Counterbalance in the town of Ridgeview, Ohio. Two people permanently enslaved by the tyranny of fear and superstition, facing the future with a kind of helpless dread. Two others facing the future with confidence, having escaped one of the darker places in the Twilight Zone.
There we go. So, Mark, what's your rating on this?
Honestly, I didn't know we were rating them. I would probably go it's like an 8.6.
Okay, you're in the eights. Dad, what do you got?
I gave it a 9. I thought the story was great. I thought the hook was cool. I thought the sear machine is an amazing little device that becomes the center. There you go, nod his head. The center of this whole episode is what spits out of this little cafe tabletop machine. I thought it was original. I thought the whole concept was original from beginning to end.
Add to that, you're right. An entire season of season 1, nothing touched in an inanimate object like this. So it's original for that series, and that's still original to today. So the originality on this episode is not to be understated.
The twist with the old couple, and they were bedraggled. That was a couple that was the older Shatner and his girlfriend, but they got sucked into the Twilight Zone. His girlfriend, Shatner's girlfriend, was able to pull him out of the Twilight Zone. And as those two paths crossed, and you saw they were beat up looking, it had sucked the life out of this older couple. And I thought that was a brilliant ending. I loved the twist at the end. And I thought that Captain Kirk did a tremendous job.
Absolutely.
The acting was great. I gave it a 9.
See, this is a true 10 for me. It's as good as it gets. Yeah. It's why they have shirts and you can buy these replicas, is because it's a famous episode. What I'm hooked up on with this one is the haunting. First of all, William Shatner, Mark, you're right. With his pauses and his shtick all together, it freaking works here, man. It works so well because I am obsessed with his obsession. Like the way that he looks at everything, I feel that. Like, I don't know. I'm relatively superstitious. I have watched 1 or 2 World Series games literally in the bathroom because I couldn't move from that spot. So I kind of am into it, which is stupid and weird. But I didn't sympathize with that. Once he started with the obsession, I could see, because those answers coming out of that stupid machine are vague but to the point. Right? Do you know what I mean? Which leads me to my question, you guys. And I have this before I read the trivia. Is it the machine or is it the user? Is he seeing it? I don't know. And I've seen this episode now 30 times. Is this some sort of enchanted machine giving the exact right answers? Or is it literally what the obsessive user is? Because I am not sold on either. And that's why I love this episode, because I have no idea.
So if you're asking the question, let me give you the quick answer. And you and I've had this discussion, Steve, at least a dozen times over the last year. I take it at face value.
Right.
And we've proven over and over again that the machine is magical. That's the whole idea behind the Twilight Zone. They don't get into the mind games at all back in the 60s. This is straightforward. I look at it as, you've got a machine that can predict the future. And that's what the whole episode is built around.
Mark, do you agree? Is that how you saw it or what?
I thought I see, the face value I got from it was like, the obsession is what brings you into the Twilight Zone.
See, and that's another, this is why I'm so obsessed with this.
Because the machine works regardless of the user, right? So like, it's the user's obsession with the machine that brings them into the Twilight Zone. Because someone without the belief would ask the question, get the no, and go, it was a fucking penny machine.
That's what
and they move on with their life. The obsession with the belief in the machine is where the Twilight Zone brings you into a different state.
See, and this is why I think that this
is the beauty of the show.
Absolutely, in one of the best episodes. That is a freaking great analysis. Richard Matheson was so impressed with her portrayal and William Shatner's wife that he lobbied for her to be given a similar role in the last Twilight Zone outing. So he really liked them. As we also know, William Shatner starred later on in Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is arguably the most viewed episode in TV history. This is the first Twilight Zone episode to feature a future Star Trek regular. In this case, it was William Shatner, James Doonan, Leonard Nimoy, and George Takei. All of them were regulars, which we knew, but when you list them all out, that is a lot. This is not the first time that Twilight Zone used MGM's Town Square in its backlot. Because we know that, Dad, because that was episode 1. The pilot episode was filmed on their guest backlot. In the opening scene, the old couple ride to the garage in their cars is being towed. That would be illegal in most places today. It would be prohibited by most towing firms for insurance reasons. Apparently, people were more relaxed in such situations in 1960. That's an absolute thing on their trivia. Guys, cool. I absolutely loved going over these. Mark, would you consider watching more in the future after your sort of take?
Yeah, dude, I'd do anything. It's fun. This was a lot of fun. I gotta say, like I said at the beginning, this was two things that I normally. The reason I've never watched the Twilight Zone is because it's two things that I normally don't like. But I really actually like. I enjoyed all 3 episodes.
That's awesome because
very good.
I'm only rating them against how I would rate each other, how I think they should fall against each other. But I really enjoyed them all.
That's the same response Andy had. In a small pool, they're varying levels. But so what we're doing now is the next episode will cover season 2, episode 10, 11, and 12, A Most Unusual Camera, The Night of the Meek and Dust. So we'll get back to you on that one. If you haven't already listened to, we got into a trivia battle last week. It's actually, if you have Spotify, you can see the video of it. I prefer that because I sound like less of an asshole if you watch the video. I'm not a dick. I wasn't really, it sounded like I was really going for the win, Dad, but I could really give a shit. Both of us, we were just joking around. But if you just listen to the audio, so if you have Spotify, go watch that episode because the video is on there. I highly recommend it. But also make sure you subscribe to everything on All Things Geek. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Chris. Mark, my man, thank you for freaking coming here and blazing with us this morning. This is a blast, and I hope you can come back again in the future.
Anytime, man. This was so much fun. Callie, I am so happy to have met you, sir. And Steve, we have to, no matter what, just